The altcoin bull market is over. That's what you see on social media, and that's what you start to believe. So in this update, we are going to discuss whether today and whether this year the bull market is over, or whether we are going to get started with the altcoin bull cycle. Let's get started. Hey, as you know, I'm a huge football fan, and our sponsor OKX is currently running a promotion with Manchester City. If you create a new account and you deposit €1,000 and you keep it on there for 7 days, you get one of those shirts for free at your home. And on top of that, you might be able to win a 2-person VIP all-paid experience to go to Manchester City, Chelsea. Make sure to get that account, and maybe we'll see each other at the Manchester City game. Let's first discuss why you start to believe that the altcoin bull cycle is over. That is due to titles, as we see on social media and on YouTube. And yes, I'm making these titles as well, just to poke everyone a little bit. But some people really believe that we're currently at the end of the bull cycle and that we have already peaked. And in the general, a bull cycle peaks when everybody is euphoric. And even with the Bitcoin valuation of around 100K, we've not seen it at all. If we look at the rainbow indicator, which we have been discussing on this channel multiple times, the valuation of Bitcoin is still very low. And if we talk about altcoins, we have yet to be seen a bull cycle. So getting into the notion that people have this argument is technically due to the fact that they have bear market PTSD, or they have previous bull market PTSD where numbers have not been going as high as we expected. But there's so much to come. So if we're looking at the data, and I want to start off with the macroeconomic perspective of crypto, the first thing we need to look at is the alt season indicator, which is currently signaling 47. A few weeks back, we had numbers above 80 that could have been a signal to sell your altcoins at least for a little while. But currently we are seeing a number below 50, which signals that it's again into an accumulation phase. And actually all those altcoins are at the same value as they have been over the past 6 months. In terms of BTC values, they are at the lowest number or level in the entire cycle. And the reason for that is that the macroeconomic state of crypto isn't really good. And the rate cuts took place. We've seen that happening in September of 2024. And those rate cuts were actually signaling the low on the yields. Normally, as we can see here, the yield markets continue to fall after rate cuts start to happen. But the bond markets have been doing the exact inverse. And the inverse is generally that we have been going up by 110 basis points rather than going down, through which the Great Britain has hit the highest interest rate in 16 years. It has actually been hitting 5%. And in our upcoming episodes of our podcast, we will be discussing this topic and why it's such a big impact into the markets and what we should be expecting to see in the coming few years, because there were 2 occasions that this has been happening before. And those were 1927 and 1998. And as you recall, I've been calling the final easy crypto cycle, and I've also been stating that we are facing the biggest crisis ever, in which there is a very likely deflationary period to come, in which crypto will be having its adoption, etc. But it is a very complex climate in which we have seen that November has been going great for altcoins. The rate cuts were taking place. Trump won the elections, and then we have seen the markets to go down again. So are we in a dot-com bubble? That is the primarily question. I said it's the final easy cycle, and Trump is still yet to get into the office. And earlier in this week, he has been stating that the yields are too high, which is the same as what he has been saying in 2016, when he said that the dollar was too expensive. And after that, the dollar collapsed, QE started, and the crypto markets went up. So why is he saying this? Well, the debt payments of the US are way too high with these interest rates as we have. The US needs to pay monthly payments on the debt that they have which is too much, and he wants to reduce that. And in that way, he also knows that the system is cracking with the current path that it's taking. So what to expect? Well, there are 4 key points. The first one is inflation to pick up again, which would be causing more fear and more interest towards assets outside of the equity markets. In the Netherlands, we've seen that the interest rate or the inflation is already above 4% again. And also the ISM services data shows inflationary pressures again. But we also need to be looking at economic growth and the labor markets. We have been focused on inflation, but the other 2 are very important too, because they have a serious impact by the policy of the Fed. So if GDP is getting out of the boundaries of the expectations of the Fed, that's going to shock the yield or the treasury markets, just as if the labor markets get weaker, that will start to signal a recession and therefore higher unemployment data, therefore QE, lower interest rates, and a higher price for altcoins and crypto. And the 4th one is Trump getting into the office. If that starts, most likely from next week on, I expect the yields to fall and Trump to shake up things and crypto to actually go up. So if that is the macroeconomic state of crypto, what does that mean for altcoins? Let's discuss that next. So the altcoin markets have been suffering as ETH and other altcoins have been significantly underperforming. And I'm not talking about meme coins, I'm not talking about Sui, I'm not talking about Fetch. They all have been doing great. But most of the markets have been underperforming as ETH versus Bitcoin is still in a 3-year bear market, but we're almost there. And I've been saying that, but we're definitely almost there still. And the conclusion is that a bull cycle doesn't end at the low. Actually, a bear market ends at the low. A bull cycle stops at the high. And when you look at the data, there we can see that the alt season indicator is still showing that there is a period of accumulation and there is no euphoria, there's no momentum. The negative sentiment is there, the hate is there. People do not expect much to come anymore from crypto. And that signals one of the 2 crucial factors that are happening in the bear market. So there are 2 crucial ones, which is price movements and time movements. During a bear market, the price movement, in the sense that the price drops substantially in a short window of time, that is the first emotional impact for any investor. We've seen that in 2022, 2023. Most of that downwards price movement has been happening, but the second one is time movements. And if your altcoin is down 80% and it stays like that for 1 to 2 years, that is when it's really start to bother you, because you see other altcoins start to move. You get even more angry that you're not in the right altcoins. You start to make emotional decisions. That is where the actual patience and discipline comes in. But if we look at the actual data, and if the bull market on ETH is going to happen in, let's say, 100 days from now, then there is still 100 days to wait. And you have already seen 1100 days. So you're this close to the start of the bull cycle. So there's no need to stress. And the question is, what do we see on the markets? Well, I have been using these as ultimate reference points. And there are a few important charts that I keep coming back to. The first one is ETH Bitcoin versus the 10-year yield, which since September has a very direct correlation. And I think if you calculate it, it's close to 1. We've seen that the yields have started to fall in the summer, and also ETH continued to fall, different reasons. But then we've seen that we've had one slight correction taking place on the yields that caused ETH to go up, but the yields continue to go, showing strength, cracking the entire system, and ETH continues to fall. So as you can see, we are getting towards the final stages that if ETH versus Bitcoin is continuing its correction or slightly more down, we get into oversold territories for the RSI on a higher time frame, signaling that we are having a case of a reversal to be happening. And in general, if we're looking at the total tree versus Bitcoin chart, we know that there is already a bullish divergence taking place on the weekly time frame, which is the strongest and longest bullish divergence in the existence of the altcoin markets, which we have not seen before. The last one we have seen was in August of 2019, signaling the actual bull cycle for crypto. If we're looking at ETH versus USDT, we can see that just from a plain observation, we are just consolidating before it's going to break its all-time high. Where are we? We are somewhere in this stage of 2020, yet to break to the upside. And given the fact that we're making higher highs, higher lows, we know for sure that there's going to be that breakout in 2025 taking place. But I expect this bull cycle to continue to last all the way up to 2026. If we look at the other altcoins, and that keeps me coming back to the conclusion that I've actually made earlier in this video, is that if you look at Optimism, which is a must-have layer 2 in the ETH ecosystem, it is currently at a cycle lows, while fundamentally there are more transactions taking place and it keeps on expanding. So there's much more to come, but the price doesn't pick up any momentum yet. And especially if you look at Optimism versus Bitcoin, it is, especially since the summer, as we can see here, it hasn't been moving at all. Actually, it has been going down by 20% against Bitcoin, but fundamentally we start to grow. And the question is, where are we in the cycle? Well, a bull market ends here at the high, a bear market ends here at the low, and we are currently in the accumulation phase, showing that there's a lot of upside to come. We still have a few altcoins that are currently outperforming versus ETH. Chainlink has been picking up some momentum, so that shows that there is already an outperformance of Ethereum taking place, which is great. And if we look at outperformance of Ethereum, we can start looking at things like the old Dino coins like Aave, which is currently undergoing a correction since its big expansion, breaking out of the entire accumulation phase. And if you can get the opportunity of having this one after a 30 to 40% correction, I think that's just, again, a tremendous opportunity. So all in all, we are not at the end of the bull cycle. We are at the end of the bear cycle. This is the part where I give my advice. And my advice has been the same for the past 5 to 6 months because the markets haven't been changing at all. So why should I change my portfolio? The only thing that I've done is I went more risk on, which is my personal strategy. And I swapped my ENS for Psi. I see all the comments of people that are actually showing their anger towards the crypto markets and putting it towards me. But all in all, I think it doesn't help you. And I think it doesn't help you to sell your positions at this point. It doesn't help you to constantly check the prices of crypto. What you need to do is, in order to actually survive these markets and to avoid making emotional decisions, is to do something else. If you are positioned and if you have your strategy, if you're following me with my strategy, just do other things in the meantime, making sure that you're not making mistakes, because that is the actual game plan. One advice that I could give to you is to already finalize your bull market plan and start thinking about the bear market plan. And that's a concept that people are not looking at too much. But if you have your strategy ready for the bull market, how are you going to prevent losing everything in the bear market again? So that's something you could spend your time on when the markets are super boring. Start reading stuff, start going into articles, listen to our podcast, and just enjoy your time. I'm not selling. I'm currently holding my positions. Once I start to sell, of course, I'll be updating you on this channel. Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to this YouTube channel. I'll be back on Thursday with a new altcoin portfolio update. Make sure to leave a comment behind on what you think about the content that we create, and I'll see you again. Ciao.